And the first thing I've done every morning for the past 20 years is to get on my knees and pray to God that he would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children.
Say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on your usefulness.
A few moments later.
By a 52-48 vote, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been confirmed, Jose, as the next Secretary of Health and Human Services for the Trump administration. The sole no vote from the Republican conference was Mitch McConnell, the former Senate Majority Leader, whose no votes now on Pete Hegseth, as well as Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., clearly having little sway or influence over the other colleagues that he once served as Senate Majority Leader, really taking the upper hand on votes like this. But what we have seen him do now on three particular votes is vote no. At the same time, he was unable to get any other Republican senators, from Bill Cassidy to Lisa Murkowski to Susan Collins, to vote no as well. And so Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is not a trained health expert, who is going to be ahead of these 13 health agencies, really in a remarkable fashion, from Democratic presidential candidate to independent presidential candidate to endorser of Donald Trump, somebody who says that he intends to make America healthy again, has been a longtime vaccine skeptic who has sought to use his organizations to remove vaccines from the market, yet also has called attention to issues of obesity and the various ingredients that are American food and drink products. He is somebody who has galvanized a coalition and a following across the country of individuals that may consider themselves liberals, others conservatives, and was able to put together in the Senate a Republican conference that ultimately backed his confirmation. No Democrats voting to confirm him.
Boy. So we got to talk about Mitch McConnell, who is currently fuming again over the fact that he is now, I believe 0 for 3. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Mitch McConnell voted against Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth got confirmed. He voted against Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard got confirmed. And he voted against RFK. And RFK got confirmed.
I want to begin by thanking President Trump for giving me this extraordinary opportunity. 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me he's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump, that I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. Right. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country at a time when we see all of the indicia of democracy now in tatters in our country. We see the rise of the military-industrial complex, the rise of totalitarianism, these attacks on our Constitution, and this breathtaking epidemic that is disabling our people. President Trump has promised to restore the American dream in this country. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person only has one. 60% of our population has only one dream, and they get better.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. RFK is probably the only major health figure that is working for the government that actually is focused on what I believe to be the biggest issue in this country, which is the obesity crisis. Okay, I believe that the reason why our so-called health officials don't really care that much about obesity is because it is good for big pharma, right? The more sick, healthy, fat, overweight, out of shape people in this country, the more money that big pharma makes, right? The more health issues that people have, the more money that they make. Okay, we do not have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. What we really need is a preventative care system, right? We should be preventing people from getting sick in the first place, okay? And that will go a long way to lowering the cost of healthcare in this country, something that leftists want so badly for free, right? Even though it's not free, but this is what they want, right? But you can't have that when basically half the country is obese, costing this country over $500 billion a year in healthcare costs, right? Just from obesity. So with that being said, I think RFK is really doing God's work. I really do. I loved the moment that RFK and President Trump hooked up together. It was a historic moment. The imagery was historic. It was iconic. And I don't know how anybody could be against the MAHA movement, the Make America Healthy Again movement. That movement, honestly, without MAHA, I'm not sure President Trump wins, to be honest with you. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, I think that RFK and his movement played a big part in expanding the base and ultimately probably was the last thing that Trump really needed in order to win the election. So that probably is the reason why Mitch McConnell failed to get any of his colleagues, other neocons, on board with stopping RFK and his nomination. So let's go ahead and get into this clip about Mitch McConnell being upset that once again he lost to Trump.
Meantime, today, once again, Mitch McConnell is standing alone among Senate Republicans. He just voted no on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination to head HHS, his third time voting down a Trump nominee after opposing Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard.
Look at this. This is sad. This is not the type of imagery we should be saying coming out of the United States Congress, right? We have senators being rolled around Congress in a wheelchair, right? In a wheelchair. This man is so old. It's time for you to go. Okay. It's just sad. Again, it's almost as if these individuals have one foot in the grave and one foot on a banana peel, right? You got Nancy Pelosi walking around with assistants as well, too. I mean, at some point, these old guys, these old fossils, they got to go. They have to let it go. Let it go. Retire. You're not cut out for this anymore. You belong in a nursing home.
It is a stark contrast from the powerful Republican leader who once backed Trump, but who the Washington Post now describes as the unlikely and sometimes lonely face of Republican resistance. Brendan Buck is back with me. Mitch McConnell just put out a statement. It reminds folks that he did survive polio, and he wrote this, Brendan. I've watched vaccines save millions of lives from devastating diseases across America and around the world. I will not condone the relitigation of proven cures. Colleagues tell the Post that they respect McConnell, but that his no vote makes them sad. What's the dynamic that's at play here?
Well, look, I will start by saying I have a lot of respect for Mitch McConnell. I was around him a lot when I was in the Speaker's office, and I think he is a very principled person who did a lot for the Republican Party over many years. The obvious difference is he's no longer leader, and there is, I think, something notable. I don't know this, I would be surprised if Mitch McConnell had ever voted against a nominee of his own party until this year. And it was always his job to make sure that his colleagues didn't vote against them. And so I imagine it's fair for a lot of them to look at McConnell and say, hey, you put a lot of pressure on me to take a lot of tough votes over the years. You valued discipline more than just about anything as leader. And why now do you have the freedom to sort of freelance? I think that's very reasonable. Of course, I think probably what is consistent here is that Mitch McConnell is of an era of Republican politics when none of these people he's voting against would have ever been nominated in the first place.
Facts. But that is essentially a sign that the old neocon Republican Party, the party of Bush, right, is dead, right? Is dead. And it is transitioning from Reaganism, which, I mean, you know, Bush is an extension of Reaganism, to now Trumpism, which is distinctly different, right? It is a different kind of ideology. And that's what's happening, right? And Mitch McConnell and what's happening here is symbolic of the evolution of the Republican Party. That the Republican Party now has become a party where you have, I would say, more diverse viewpoints, right, on certain issues, okay? Especially when you talk about this issue of big pharma, the medical establishment, foreign policy, war, things of that nature. Yeah, I mean, that is the key difference between some of the past Republican movements versus the current America First movement, okay? And Mitch McConnell's inability to get his other colleagues to push back with him against the America First agenda is, it really shows you that, I mean, we've successfully taken over the party, right? In the sense that the movement has won, okay? And the neocons have lost, right? They've lost. But, you know, Mitch McConnell, I will say he's a guy that, although I think he's extremely corrupt and I don't particularly like him as an individual, not that I know him, but I'm just saying, just from afar, just observing him as a person, at one point he was a political genius, right? At one point he did single-handedly basically put the clamps on the Obama administration and the Democrat Party agenda, right? Especially in the courts. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that, right? But, you know, part of the reason why is because he overstayed his welcome. This man should have retired after Obama left, right? After Obama left, Mitch McConnell should have been done, right? Since then, Mitch McConnell has just been a thorn in the side of the Trump administration and the America First movement. But hey, the guy did fight to the very end. It seems as if he's going to fight to the grave. So it seems, right, when it comes to pushing back against Trump and trying to save the old Republican Party.
So he's now put in a position of having to grapple with voting for people who, make crazy claims about vaccines or have very questionable credentials to lead our national security agencies. And we know that Mitch McConnell has long cared a lot about national security. And so it's not surprising necessarily that he was against those people, but it does leave you wondering, if you've been a longtime watcher of the Senate, why it's okay for him to be a bit of a freelancer here, where he would have never accepted that from some of his colleagues.
Well, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, it is hypocrisy, obviously, right? Mitch McConnell back in the day was like, all the Republicans must fall in line because he needed them to oppose the Democrats. And they did, right? They did. But, the tables have turned and he just doesn't have that power anymore. So with that being said, President Trump did respond. He actually went off on Mitch McConnell when asked about him continuing to vote against his nominees.
RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that he wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even, and that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators, and so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position, so he can't love me. But he's not voting against Bobby. He's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. Do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did.
You think that was easy? What?
He had polio, obviously, and
I don't know. I don't know anything about he had polio. Are you doubting
that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now. He's a very bitter guy, and we have a very strong party. And he's almost not even really a very powerful member. I'd say he's lost his power, and it's affected his vote. And it's one of those things. But in the meantime, Bobby did great, got more votes than anybody thought, and I think he's going to do phenomenally in that position. And everybody else likewise did well. Not only well, they got more votes than anybody thought. Tulsi, look at how she did. She did.
Hey, I gotta say, President Trump is right. They did get more votes than anybody thought because, everybody knew that all the Democrats would vote against these nominees for the most part. Now, again, you got some like Bernie who basically betrayed Tulsi, right? Bernie, once again, showing that he has no cojones, right? And then you had John Fetterman as well, too, who also kind of dropped the ball, okay, when it comes to voting yes or some of Trump's nominees. But regardless, I mean, you know, a lot of people expect it to come down to the wire, right? For it to be basically 50-50. Maybe J.D. Vance has to come in and break the tie, right? I think that's what a lot of people expected. But, you know, that's not what's happening, right? Tulsi and RFK, they're sailing right on through. Now we have Kash Patel, and I am thinking that he's probably going to sail right on through as well. And, you know, we'll see if Mitch votes against Kash Patel. I don't know. But regardless, he's now 0 for 3. Yeah, I mean, he's done, right? I mean, this is like officially the end for him. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.